in the Mix with Gabrielle Elyse.
Welcome back, you guys, to a brand new In the Mix with yours truly, Gabrielle Elyse. As you can see, we stepped up the podcast game by recording a live video YouTube right here. So there was no question that I had to get the multi-talented and multicultural mixed queen of YouTube herself, Miss Eva Gutowski, aka MyLifeasEva. Hello, it is so happy that you're joining me today.
Of course. Hey.
Hi. So let you get into it. What are you doing? Where are you from? Introduce yourself. Tell the audience who you are.
All right. Hey guys, I'm Eva Gutowski. I'm a lifestyle YouTuber, and I'm also a music producer, a producer just in general, whether it's film or commercial or comedy. And yeah, I have a golden retriever and I love to drink wine, and I'm currently in Europe and it's 10 p.m. So while you're drinking coffee, I'm drinking.
Yeah. Nice. It is so funny that you have a golden retriever because this family loves golden retrievers themselves. And we just got a 1-year-old puppy named Winnie. She's running around here somewhere. But yeah, I love golden retrievers. They're the best dogs. So you have your puppy with you in Europe?
No, I wish, but it was like stressful enough getting me over to Europe during coronavirus. So I was like, maybe next time I'll bring her. But for now, she's with my mom.
All right, very nice.
Yeah.
So the segment that I love to start out with everybody is called So What Are You? Which is the ignorant question that us mixed people always get asked. So without further ado, Eva, can you tell me, what are you?
Well, it's so funny because I feel like as a mixed person, you always have people not only saying, what are you, but like guessing what you are and being like completely inaccurate. So I'm primarily Black, Puerto Rican, and Polish. However, a lot of people seem to think that I'm Blasian. And
really?
Yeah, they're like, are you sure you're not Asian? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I wish I was. I'm not. I can't claim it.
That is hysterical because I'm Blasian and you are for Latina. So that is hysterical. I get mistaken for like Hispanic all the time, and I'm like, no, I'm Asian and Black. So very nice. Thanks for trying to tell me what's on my birth certificate. But yeah, so who's who? Is your dad Puerto Rican and your mother's Black, or is it the other way around? Like, tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so my dad is like the white side, and then my mom is the Black side. My mom's like my whole family on my mom's side lives in like Arizona and like Inglewood vibes, and then my dad's side is like New York, Puerto Rico, upstate New York, like Buffalo and stuff like that.
Wow, so you really have like the diverse like cultural background. Like your dad's from New York and your mom is like the Inglewood vibe type of thing. Like, what was that like growing up in the household?
I feel like my family took over a lot of like the white side because we grew up in my dad's kind of like family household.
Okay.
I don't know. I just feel like we were the type of family where a lot of the decisions were like put into my dad's like kind of vibe. So I grew up super whitewashed. Like, even though my mom is like my mom is like the most cultural, like diverse, most like, she is the Black woman. Like she is, you know, she's just got so much flavor and culture and like life inside of her. But that didn't really come out until the last like 5 years of my life. So growing up, it was always, super like Catholic church and like going to like communion and all sorts of, and yeah, and then like as I got older, I was like, wait a second. I was like hanging out with my mom more, and I was like, damn, where was all of this growing up?
Right. It's crazy to think that you like, as a mixed person, like you kind of mold into the environment that you grew up in, because I can totally relate to being whitewashed. I mean, I didn't even start wearing my natural curly hair until maybe like 4 years ago, because I grew up in Texas, and that is the white suburbia of things. So I grew up like straightening my hair and like wearing Miss Me jeans and things like that. And I didn't really discover my Blackness until I went to a Black hair salon when I was like 10. And I was like,
oh my gosh, it's so funny because it's like, I grew up so whitewashed, but the one damn thing I had in my life was my Black hair salon. Oh,
Yes.
and the name was Felicia's Pamper Palace, and I remember being in that place since I was
Oh,
like a child.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally relate. And like that was like my introduction to whole black culture and like black hair culture and things like that. And then one of the most like amazing things that I remember is just like these throughout the whole day. 'Cause, you know, like black hair salons, you're there all day. It's a whole thing. You're not like, you know, a white person where you sit in a salon for an hour and then you go about your day, all that. It's an event. So I remember sitting there and just, being there for hours, and then like breakfast, lunch, and dinner is there for you. Like you see all these different vendors come in, and I was like, what?
The mailman, like you see the mailman come in every day.
Yeah. And you're like, I remember seeing like somebody like selling purses to the people in the salon. I was like, you literally could get a whole grocery store thing done here all day.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, when it was like the sun had set, it's dark outside, the hot comb had been happening, and then you get that stick, the deodorant stick, but it's like for the edges, like the edge waxed. It would smell like apples, and you're like, I can go home.
yep, I'm good. My day is done.
Yes. So that was
Amazing.
like, yeah. I remember that growing up, and I missed that place.
Yeah. So I discovered you on TikTok, and the first TikTok that I saw of you was you doing the am I wrong with the whole like what we talked about earlier about people just assuming what race you were. And I got so excited because I have yet to discover another mixed black woman in media. And so with that being said, I wanted to get into your experience about being a mixed black influencer. Like, has there been any challenges for you in the beginning or now? And just what has that journey been like for you?
Honestly, the journey for me, it's been primarily good because I feel like I provided that little bit of diversity that it was lacking. When I started YouTube, I actually started off YouTube doing makeup videos, which is funny because I didn't even wear makeup when I started YouTube. But at the time, like this was literally 2012, and when I went on YouTube, I would watch all of the guys doing comedy videos, and all of the girls that I had to look up to were like Michelle Phan or like Blair Fowler, and like they were doing beauty videos. And so when I started making beauty videos, I feel like even though I was incredibly whitewashed because I was like still figuring out so much of my life, I did provide that like little bit of extra flavor that I had back then. And even though it was not nearly enough and it wasn't as much as I am now, I think it did put me aside from other people, which I think worked out well. And I also think like, I don't know, everyone was always like, what are you? Like, you're so ethnically ambiguous. So it made me feel good about myself because I was like, maybe I am ethnically ambiguous. I was like, maybe I do like have this cool little thing. But I think when I started realizing the challenges of it was when I just started going on shoots and jobs. Like back in the day, there were so many brands that were getting all of these like beauty influencers, lifestyle influencers to, model their clothes or shoot for these magazines, whatever. And I would get on set with them, and that's when I realized, oh, you think I'm a white girl. You really do. Because the teams that would be working with my hair, with my skin tone, it was just like hell on earth. It was like, trauma trying to, I was so insecure about someone frying my hair off, but I didn't know how to tell anybody because I was new to this industry. And that was like resulting in so many different hair and makeup stylists, just kind of like turning me into something that they thought I was going to be showing up. It took me years to fight through that and get to a point where I'll show up to set still to this day with my hair already done. I'll show up to set with a wig on and be like, I'll go touch it myself. I got my hot tools in my bag.
Yeah.
I still like that, and that's still a challenge I face. But I definitely have gotten stronger on how to say no to things and make sure I look the way I need to look because, sets be crazy.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that you got into that because even now, like I have to face that as well. And I remember a actress named Yvonne who's been in the industry for years. She was What was the Drake and Josh's manager's name?
God, I'm embarrassing myself right now, but she was like the movie theater manager. I'm pretty sure her name is Yvonne, so please forgive me if that's wrong.
The movie theater man. Yes.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, right. So hopefully everybody else is on the same page. I apologize if I get the name wrong.
Talent manager. I was like, why would we know that information? And then I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And I watched her doing a SAG conversation, and she said that she has to also come to set with her tools and her hair done and things like that, because most of the people working on sets are white and they don't know how to do Black people hair. They don't know how to do mixed people hair. And so, like you said, you're kind of forced to sit there and like take on whatever image they want to put on you. And so I love the fact that you just highlighted that, because that's still a huge, huge issue.
Also, I would say it's like being mixed. It's like you grow up, you know, like we talked about, it's like you kind of become the product of your environment. And I want to just set this straight. I don't think that's anyone's fault. I don't think anyone should be blamed for being whitewashed or blackwashed, if that's even a, you know, whatever. Because it's like when you're so young and you're growing up, it's like we have much better people in place to like teach us, and I mean, hopefully you and I can be like beacons of light to people that look like us. But it's like when we were growing up, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have like stuff like that to really like have social media to look at. And I feel like now that I'm in a position where I have so many people looking to me, it's like I'll get people being like, you're not fighting enough for like the Black side of you, or like you're not being white enough for the white side. And like that's just a challenge, media aside, that mixed people face and biracial people face. But being a mixed race person in the media, I feel like I'm being pulled in so many different directions when I'm like, can't I just be me, who I am, and, you know, express myself the way I want to express myself? I don't have to fit into boxes. And it's like, it just sucks when people in your own culture are trying to put you into a box, or if you go into another box, you're not included in the box, you know. It's like, so finding, it's like that's definitely a challenge, is finding which box to be in for the day, you know?
Exactly. And that's, I love the fact that you said that. So with that being said, I'm going to take you into another segment called Bully Beatdown, because I know as mixed people, we got bullied a lot by both sides. So is there any bully that you want to call out and be like, hey, yo, I see you, I hear you, here's my payback for you, bro? Call it out, spill the tea.
A bully. Do I have? You know, I think it's just funny, like, I mean, and we'll get into it, but like when the Black Lives Matter movement just recently, like, again, like I have to educate people when they're like, the Black Lives movement didn't like just start. I'm like, or like they'll be like, why are you just now speaking up? This is the problem, okay? People be like, why are you just now speaking up about Black people? And I'm like, don't make me pull out my receipts. Like, why do we need to be, listen, you can go search MyLifeasEva, Black Lives Matter, MyLifeasEva, like whatever you need to search, and I could pull up the receipts. You can do it yourself. But it's just like when people want to immediately, especially if it's like people in your own culture, Black people, mixed people, calling, their first instinct is to call out someone else in their own sisterhood, in their own brotherhood for being, you know, on the right side of things. It's just like, if someone speaks out and they're mixed and they're biracial, whatever, your first instinct is to attack them and be like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this for that? This is like, listen, I got my receipts, but even if I didn't, even if I had never said anything, everyone's got their own journey. Everyone's got their own reasoning for maybe why it is their first time to speak out. And to bully someone and make them feel like they shouldn't speak out, it makes no sense. It's like, like if you really want to get into it, it's like, I'm vegan, but it's like, if I say, oh, don't eat meat, is someone gonna be like, well, you ate meat when you were 14, so what the fuck? It's just like,
Yeah.
What? Like, are we really gonna get, like, what? So it's just, it's not fair to people, and it's not helping anyone. And if we really want to fight for racial equality and for people to stop being killed in the streets, we can't be fighting amongst ourselves about what day and what timestamp you said something in 2014. Like, what the fuck? So that's my 2 cents.
Because I remember when the Alton Sterling stuff happened, and you know, I was very much the same way. Like I was speaking out. I have always spoken out about it since day one, since I even signed up for social media. And you know, as part of your fight, because you have Black family members, and my father is a Black man, like this feels so close to home. And you know, even though you're mixed, like people perceive you, or what I find is people perceive you only as a Black woman because you have, you know, this certain number of features, and to white people that's like, oh yeah, you're Black, done. That's the box they're most comfortable putting you in. And I remember, like, I had this shirt on that says, like, I'm Black and I'm proud, and I posted it. You know, I had this whole thing about coming together as a multicultural society and things like that. And some person was just like, oh, she's not really Black, blah blah blah. I don't understand why she's speaking about it now, and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, like I totally understand. My Black experience is different from your Black experience, but at the same time, there's still, I feel like people don't understand there's still a lot of similarities to things. And that's where we can unite and make that voice stronger. I mean, I'm never going to sit here and be like, I have the same experience as, like, I have the same experience as you, or I have the same experience as like a dark-skinned Black woman or things like that. I'm never going to say that. But at the same time, we have similarities, we have similar struggles. And I mean, I just love the fact that you're saying that, especially on Instagram, and having those tough conversations. I mean, I wanted to get into a little bit more about your YouTube stuff before we move into that, if that's fine with you. Cool.
Of course.
So I noticed in your YouTube videos that your parents, in the videos that you produce, and your Me and My Grandma series, your parents ethnically most resemble what your real family, I imagine, will look like. Yeah. So do you feel like as a content creator, you have more power to show your multicultural authentically? Is that important to you? Do you make it a point to do that, even though it's insanely subtle?
Absolutely. So in any production I've done, whether it's Me and My Grandma, or it's How to Survive High School, or it's my sexual assault video. If you look at my sexual assault video, I also have biracial parents in that, a white dad and a Black mom. And I mean, no one's really ever asked me that, so it's kind of cool that you noticed that. But it is something subtle that I do, not only because I feel like it's just weird if I don't know, if I'm playing the character in something, I want parents that really represent me. And that's just, you know, as I'm an executive producer on all of those projects that I do. And so that's just an executive choice that I make, because it's like, I'm a mixed girl and I want my family to, if I have the control over it, I want my family to represent, you know, exactly who I am. So yeah, we've definitely had to work a little bit extra hard on casting for those things, but it's always worked out. And also, I just feel like, you know, as we know, the industry has been so disrupted with this whole racial representation. I mean, years and decades, I can't even say years, like centuries, where it's like, you know, you'll have a 40-year-old person playing a 17-year-old in high school, or you'll have like a clearly mixed woman with 2 white parents. It's just so skewed. And so if I have the opportunity to normalize things a little bit more and make things more realistic, I'm going to do it. So that's the reasoning behind that.
That's amazing. So that brings me into another segment called Reppin', which means, can you tell me a story of when you first saw somebody like you in media, or do you feel like you are paving the way for people to recognize you and be like, oh yeah, that's me?
I think, well, it's funny because the whole reason why I got into YouTube and even social media, which is funny to say because when I started YouTube, it was like social media wasn't like what it is today. I I actually got really inspired by Oprah, which is like funny because she's not mixed, but my whole career is like defined by Oprah. Like I always wanted always wanted to be Oprah. And like in high school, when people would say like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a scientist, I'd be like, I want to be Oprah. And so I went to college for journalism. I literally like searched, I read like all her books, I searched up everything she did, and I followed in her footsteps and did the same major. And she really inspired me just because as a Black woman being so powerful in media, she was like my biggest inspiration growing up for talking to people and helping people through things. And so when I was in college, I met through starting YouTube, her name's Elaine. I'm going to butcher her last name, but it's like Welterworth. She just got married, beautiful wedding. But she at the time was working with Teen Vogue, and she's just an amazing public speaker, author. I don't know if she's light skinned or if she's mixed, but she's just absolutely beautiful. And that was the first person I saw that was such a powerful woman who had hair like mine and, you know, features like mine. And she had those like strong shoulders that I was always so insecure about, that I feel like so many of us have. And I don't know, I was just really inspired by her and how tenacious she was in her career. And she still inspires me to this day. And I need to look up more about her background because I know she's definitely Black, but I need to know more. But she's amazing. And like, if you don't know who she is, it's just like, she's definitely done so much for the community. And
nice. I'm going to have to look her up because I don't even know who that is.
Oh yeah,
but...
she's great. She's like so powerful.
So before we get into the Black Lives Matter movement, because I know you're so passionate about this and it's so relevant that I just am craving to get into it. But culture. I noticed, because I do this as well, is you talk about other people being so influenced by Black culture and how society is being influenced by Black culture, and it always has, and how that has formed from Black people's struggles and things like that. But since you are a multicultural woman, what are some things that you have taken as your own from your own background that you outwardly express? Like the influence of your hair, your clothes, your shoes, any types of food, like things like that. How has your multi-ethnic background molded you as an expressionist?
I would say first off, my hair is probably the most primary one, because ever since, I mean, you can look back on like my first videos, I was like wearing so many extensions, so many weaves. So I've tried everything when it comes to hair. And I pride myself on that, because if anyone ever needs any advice on hair extensions, whether it's, I've done it all. I've done stuff that I definitely should not have done, because, you know, as a biracial, as a mixed race person, especially with someone with curly hair, a lot of things are not meant for our hair. And we find out the hard way. And I found out the hard way. So it's cool to me. I do feel like I'm some sort of like and I don't own it as much as I'd love to, but I've always wanted to be like secretly like a hair channel where I just like review, like, because I've been watching those videos since YouTube even existed. Wig reviews, weave reviews, bundle reviews, and like when I started YouTube, I was like, maybe I'll be, before I turn into who I am, but it's like, I was like, maybe I'll be a hair YouTuber, because I loved it so much. And so, I mean, to me, my hair is like tied so much to my culture because I've been through it all, and I know the struggle. I know the struggle. And even still to this day, I feel like wigs just kind of got like normalized and like gentrified in the last like 3 years. But before that, like, I feel like I was on the cusp of people being brave enough to wear wigs and tell people they were wearing wigs, because it used to not be cool. Like, wearing wigs and weaves were like, oh, like, you must not have any hair. You must not have good hair, you know?
Yes.
And yet I was still there, you know, wearing my weaves, wearing my wigs, wearing whatever, and being open about it and not hiding anything, because it was all I knew since I was young. And so I hold that really close to my heart, because I just feel like I can help so many girls going through it like I did, with not knowing how to style curly hair, ethnic hair, and finding the right products for them. Other than that, I feel like style. My mom has so much style. She collects Jordans. Like my mom is like in it.
Oh,
My mom is literally
yeah.
a sneakerhead, and she's throughout the recent years she's taught me so much, and like now I'm collecting Jordans with her. So that's a
so
new thing.
I love that. I collect Jordans with my brother, and it is such a bad habit to get into.
See, it's
like,
good because my mom and I are the
being-
same size.
Oh no. Well, that's good for you because then you can like trade shoes and everything. Oh my gosh, but it's such a bad habit that I wish I didn't pick up. But because you see those on like StockX or like Goat when they sell out, and you're like, oh, I got these shoes, and they're like 10 times what they originally were, but you're like, I got to. It's part of the game.
It's cool
Such
because
a-
it's like
it's-
I never understood it. I was never like into shoes like that. And then as I started hanging out with my mom more and I saw how passionate she was about it, not just about the sneakers, but she cares more about the culture of it and the year and the
Right.
meaning behind the shoes and all of that. And so it's cool to learn about it that way. And I feel like that was the only way that could have got me into collecting sneakers was recently getting back in touch and falling more in love with the Black side of me and the history of it and the culture of it.
Yeah.
So I love collecting sneakers with my mom because it's like it's so much more than a shoe to me and more to her, but she's influencing me on that because I see how passionate she is about the culture of it. So yeah.
So that brings me to another segment called the switch up. And I feel like as mixed people, we code switch all of the time, especially growing up and discovering these new sides of us. And this segment came about because, growing up in Texas, and discovering my Black side, like, I put the black scent on and thought I had to talk a certain way and be a certain way, and then switch up when I was around like white teachers and things like that. So I don't know. I feel like it's a rite of passage for us mixed kids. So with that being said, can you tell me a time where you had to switch up for the first time, or do you still do it now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, just like having so many white boyfriends and having to meet like white boyfriend families and just and like it was never an issue. I feel like I don't know, just because like of the way that I grew up, it's like I don't have to switch too much because there's sadly so much like whitewashing inside of me. But like it's so sad. But like recently it's so funny because like last week I met my boyfriend, he lives in Norway. So I met his Norwegian like old family the first time last week and I had box braids in and I showed up with like 29-inch box braids and like nails and like sneakers and like just some like printed pants. I was like, hi, I'm Eva. It was just like so nervous. But I had to remind myself every day. I was like, just be your damn self. Like no one cares. And so it was good because it was like, that was probably the first relationship where I told myself, I don't care who I'm meeting, like I'm gonna stay true to myself, my voice, my hair, and I can't even lie. I was so nervous just because I had box braids. Just because and it's like these people aren't, racist. They're like my boyfriend's family is amazing. Even in Norway, he's out at the protest for Black Lives Matter. He's out like doing everything he can. But still something in me was so like, that's how crazy it is being mixed. It's like in your head, it's like, be this way. You don't look a certain way. And even up until last week, I'm having to fight with my mind, telling myself like, just be your damn self. Like I've gotten so far away from trying to be a certain way to fit into a certain box and code switching. And I just didn't allow myself to do that last week. And I feel really good about it.
Yeah. It's always an iconic moment, I feel like, for mixed kids to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna own who the hell I am and really come into their own, because I also have a white boyfriend and he's wonderful. And he's from Florida, like the southern part of Florida. And I remember I know.
remember like his grandfather was a senator and like very old Southern family traditions, morals, and I mean where he grew up is so Southern. And I was this year or last year? I think last year I also had box braids meeting their family, and it's like I may look crazy and like I remember like one of the looks on his family member's face was like, oh, this girl is about to, you know, be mouthing off and things like that. But yeah, like I had to remind myself too, is just be like, just be yourself, express how you want to be expressed. And yeah, I just find that so interesting that even as an adult with my significant other who loves and accepts me for who I am, I still have to do that.
It's funny because it's like, even aside from, I feel like relationships are such a funny thing because like when you're dating someone that's white and you're not, it's just like finding a way to like be the most perfect person. But aside from that, it's like even just being in like the lifestyle community, the YouTube community, there's not many people that are mixed race, especially in the lifestyle community. Like I really, like, it's hard to name people that are in this like world that I'm in. And I remember when I first started out on YouTube, it was like everyone was like kind of just like looking at me as like, oh, Eva, you know, she'll never be anything, like we have more followers than her, like we're the popular girls, like hee whatever, like blah blah blah. And I was just like so quiet, even though I was confident, I was quiet, and I was just sitting there and I was just like, let me just work hard. And the second I started getting older, I started growing my social media, and at the same time, I started becoming more in tune with my multiracial side. I wasn't just this like, what's up guys, it's Eva, welcome back to my channel. Like I was turning into myself and I was growing and I was becoming an adult. People started to say, oh, like that's Eva, like she's like, you know, always like, I don't know, too confident or too loud or like too like dressing all crazy or whatever. And I would start to hear stuff coming back to me from like the lifestyle community being like, almost like people were like afraid of me. And like people looked at me like I was like too much. And I started to realize, I was like, is it because the way I talk and the way I like exude myself is because of my mom. I mean, my mom and my, you know, like do you have a black mom?
I have a black dad.
Okay. Well, if you have a black mom.
But like black aunties, black cousins, like I understand. Yeah.
I'm the product of my mom, like her attitude, the way she holds herself, the way she talks. If you come to our house and we're watching a TV show, we'll just be like, well, and I started to carry that attitude, which I love so much. It was a good attitude. You love being in the house with those people and you're just, everyone's like fighting to be loud and you're just talking. Yeah. And when I started to bring that culture that people had never seen in this whitewashed lifestyle beauty community, people were like, whoa, Ava's a different breed. And it was because they had never been with someone that had that culture in them. And so that was definitely something that I noticed that shifted. And so now, I mean, most of my friends are not YouTubers because they're just friends that like know the way that I talk and the way that we act with each other. But those girls that I used to be close to when I was like, what's up guys, it's Eva, welcome back to my channel. Like we just don't mesh personality wise anymore. And I feel like it's because I just came into myself and my confidence.
So I think that's a perfect segue to move into what we've been talking about since the beginning, is the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, just starting off and talking about conversations, like you coming into yourself as a mixed woman, you coming into yourself as a multicultural woman, as a Black woman, like what were these conversations like with those friends or the friends closest to you?
I would say, I mean, it's been bittersweet because it's like I have friends that have reached out to me and like they're so eager to learn, which is like bittersweet because it's like, you know, I have friends that are willing to learn, that are coming to me for information, but at the same time it's like I'm the blackest friend you have to come to learn about like stuff that I thought everyone should know. And maybe that's just because my family is Black and because I paid attention in freaking third grade, but it's just like I had friends coming to me being like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand. How can I help? And I'm just like, okay, thank you for coming to someone for help and being brave enough. But second of all, I'm the blackest friend you have, ? And third of all, how did you not know what the hell was going on? And so I have those friends, which, I've talked through, and I've tried to be as much of an information source as I can. And that's why I made so many IGTVs when the week that George Floyd, his killer, was not being prosecuted. I made so many IGTVs for that because I was like, holy shit, I have so many friends that are coming to me that don't have any idea what's going on. So I probably have millions of people that, can have access to text me directly that are confused. So let me just try the best that I can to like get out good information and educate some people during this time. But at the same time, I had friends that weren't saying anything, that I was super disappointed in, because they were friends that I would have never guessed would stay silent in a situation like that. And so because of the person that I am and like the no bullshit attitude that I have, I'm sitting with my friends being like, my other Black friends, my other mixed friends, like wallowing in sadness, being like, why aren't these people speaking out? Why aren't these people? And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, let me just text them. Let me just see like what's going through their mind. Like, I don't know. And so I was having to be the person reaching out to so many friends being like, hey, like, do you know what's going on? Like, are you aware of this? Like, I'm just wondering why you're not saying anything. Like, why you got Black friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, like what's going on? And I was not gonna lie, disappointed in a lot of my best friends' responses. And it really made me rethink like what the hell? Like, who am I surrounding myself with if they can't fight for the people that they love? And the thing is, like, going back to when people are like, oh, Ava, why do you care so much? Like, why are you, I'm getting friends that are like, wait, you're Black? Like, when I'm reaching out to them, and it's just like, people forget, even though I'm mixed, that doesn't mean I have a dark-skinned cousin that I love to death and I care about her well-being. I have dark-skinned Black brother cousins that are like living in these southern states that do not have this like Southern California leisure that sometimes we have, the past that we have. And it's like, just because I have lighter skin does not mean that I shouldn't be any less affected by this. Not only because this shit is insane and anyone should care about this, no matter if they're mixed or not, but it's like, I have these dark-skinned family members that have it worse than me, and I can fight for them. Even though I don't understand all of their struggle, I still fight for them because that's my family. That's my blood family. So it's like, I don't understand why people are like acting like I shouldn't care, because it's just like, you don't understand how many family members direct I have that could be affected at any second of any day by these issues.
Exactly. So going into the whole light-skinned thing is there's this thing called light-skin privilege, which is very much a real thing. I've experienced it myself. But there's also something that you brought up in your IG lives, which I adored because I had not heard any other mixed person talk about this, but speaking on your white privilege. Not a lot of mixed people know that they have this. Not a lot of mixed people know that this could be a great set to things. So what does that white privilege look like for you?
It looks like a lot. I mean, even the whole when the Black Lives Matter movement, and I hate saying when the Black Lives Matter movement because it's like this is an ongoing movement, but it's like, when the black boxes were being posted on Blackout Tuesday, when that shit was happening, like people, so many media outlets were coming to me to speak on Black issues, and that's when I really realized, I mean, not that I didn't before, but it's like, you're just reconfirming what my privilege is. It's like, go speak to a person that understands the deepest roots of this problem. Go speak to a Black man. Like, thank you so much for handing me an interview, but it's like, I'm a light-skinned YouTuber that lives in Encino. Like, I just feel like there's better people to speak to talk about George Floyd's murder, for example. And I just and that's not even the only example. It's like, when someone needs to hire a Black person to be the face of a brand, it's like they'll go to me. And it's like, look, there's better people for this. I'm not the one. And I know when a brand is wanting to throw in a little diversity and it's me. I know when that's happening. And I'll say no to a lot of those things because it's like, I'm not the right person for that. I've said no to so many acting roles. This character is a Black woman with crazy curly hair. And they see a photo of me with like curly hair and they're like, Eva, come in for the casting. And it's just like, sometimes it makes sense, but there's a lot of times where it doesn't make sense and I know what they're doing. And so, yeah, I mean, light skin privilege is definitely a thing. And it doesn't even have to do with just media. It's just like walking into a store. I know the difference. Even if I walk into a store and I have my curly hair out and look at my skin.
Yeah.
Look at my skin.
Yeah.
Like if I walk into a store and I have my hair in a ponytail and it's curly, people be side-eyeing me. People are looking at me side. But if I come into a store and I have a blonde wig on or I have my hair and even a bun, suddenly I'm like 10%, 20% whiter and less needing to be monitored in a store. That's how crazy it is. So it's like I, again, will never know the struggle, but I do know that it can be a lot worse than what I feel.
Exactly.
Because I'm even getting side-eyed when I have curly hair out in a store.
Yeah.
There's so many experiences like that where it's just like I recognize my privilege and I can't believe people don't that are light skinned, that are mixed, because it's like, I mean, you feel the energy. I don't know, maybe people don't, but it's like I've picked up on the energy ever since I was, I mean, as far as I can remember. I remember having light skin privilege when I was 5-6 years old at a pool party at a friend's house. You know, I remember all those feelings.
So many good gems. Oh my gosh, I'm just so inspired. I can't find my words. But talking on behalf of your white side, you shared a beautiful, beautiful story about your Polish grandfather, and how his life dedication influenced you to stand up, and how his life dedication to civil rights inspired you. And I mean, I found that so beautiful in relation to being mixed, because it just goes to show that stereotypes and race politics can be overcome, and you know, you can be united in a new way, and like that is your foundation. Like that is embedded in you. That's embedded in a lot of mixed kids. And so with that, your background, like how has your experience, like as a mixed woman speaking on BLM movement, like I don't know, like how has that empowered you to speak on your white side? How has it empowered you to speak on your Black side? Like knowing that you have that story, like how do you carry that with you, I guess?
Well, I would say my grandpa's a big inspiration to me. Ever since I was younger, he's worked with the Boys and Girls Club. I've helped him with so many projects in like El Monte and Pasadena and South El Monte, like Inland Empire area. He's worked in that area with the Boys and Girls Club. And so ever since I was younger, I would go with him to the Boys and Girls Club, to food drives, and just, you know, be inside the energy, see what, and like when I say this, don't get me wrong, my family was low income from the very beginning and we did not have anything well off, but going into a community that represented the struggle of my family behind closed doors and the racial struggle of my family and the financial struggle, it has shaped me in so many beautiful ways, because I see what the struggle is, not only from my own personal experience, but from the experience of feeding the homeless, putting clothes on the backs of inner city kids, taking them to camps because they can't afford summer camps, they can't afford school lunches. Like I've seen it. And that's all through my grandfather. And my grandfather's a white man. And as I explained in my IGTV, he gave up his dream of becoming a history professor and devoted his whole life to civil rights. When Martin Luther King Jr. was fighting so much for racial equality. And so I'm inspired by him because him before I was born, before my dad met my mom, before there was any ounce of black in my family on my dad's side. My grandpa was fighting for the culture. And so I've seen that growing up. And it's normalized things that I was insecure about growing up in my own household. It's made me feel united with people that, you know, are being out here killed in the streets, are being out here chased down by the police in the LA, in the whole LA environment. That's just LA that I'm speaking for. I've seen it. I've seen the people. I've seen the faces of these people. I've seen the families. I've seen the kids. And I've seen them since I was young. So that has inspired me so much, because it's just like, I know what these people look like. And I hate to see the city of LA hurting so much, because like I know what those people that are hurting, I know what they look like, and I know what their struggle is. And it's all due to my grandfather, who again is a white man. And so I know that racial inequality, it's not impossible. It's like dumb to think it's impossible. Oh, if you're white, you're automatically racist and nothing can change you. It's like, that's not true. If you aren't willing to educate yourself, if you aren't willing to open your eyes and you are a white person, it's pure ignorance. It's not innate. It's something that you're choosing to do, because it's like, my family is half white and I've never experienced any racial inequality from my own family. And I know that they weren't doing that shit before I was even in the talks of being born. And this beautiful to see, because that was back in the 50s, the 60s, when stuff was really different. And to know that my family is a good family that does not have a racist culture, and that is a white family, it's like, this isn't impossible. And if you are in a family that has a different story, you have the power to change the course of your family. You have the power to change the course. That's not something innate and stamped into your family.
Yeah.
So go out and educate yourself. Stop being lazy.
Very nice. No, I completely agree. I mean, I took African American literature and African American history. I personally think that should be required even in high school. Like, they should incorporate that somehow, because it even opened my eyes even more to how systemic this racism problem is in America. And it's like so many people, I feel, speak ignorantly or don't want to open their eyes, because it's ugly. It's fucking ugly, but it needs to be shown that way. I even feel like even in Hollywood, it's a little bit glamorized, but
it's just crazy. Like, I was having friends that I would be on the phone with them for 2 hours explaining, and I'm not even the person of history, but here I am on the phone with my white friends for 2 hours being like, okay, so then the Jim Crow laws were abolished, and then that's when this happened. They're like, what is that? And I'm just like, maybe I'm crazy. No. But I fully remember learning about this in high school, in elementary. Yep. I remember all of it. So maybe my school did do the extra mile. Maybe it did, but I just assumed that everyone had a very basic knowledge of the Black struggle. And now I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, is this not common? Did people not really teach this?
I mean, even in Texas, like, they tried to erase that, like, Black history from their state history books. It didn't get passed, obviously, but that's how deep it is. Like, it's not an uncommon thing for, non-people of color to not know about. And that's just amazing to me. But, so this brings me into a next segment. You've talked about how your mixedness has inspired you, how your mixedness has empowered you, not only as, just a human, but as a Black woman and things like that. But this next segment I want to get into is what I call mixed kryptonite. And it is, what are some of the downsides about being mixed that you struggle with? Were there any that you struggled with when you were younger? Or any more that you haven't shared yet? Do you still struggle with it as an adult?
I think the biggest downside for me is not finding enough people to surround myself with that look like me, that I can talk to and sympathize with, because I feel like it's so hard, as we talked about, to you know, go into the group of your Black friends and be like, hey guys, like, I'm like you 50%, like I know 50% of what's going on here. And they're just like, get out of here, scram, like you don't belong with us. And then you go with your white friends and they're like, yeah, you can hang out with us, but here, put on this and put on this voice and put on this hair and put on these clothes and then come along with us, or dress like the other side and we'll just steal that and dress like that too. So it's like it's like where are my mixed friends at? And it's like in social media and just in media in general, I feel like we're so few far in between that we don't know how to find each other. It's hard to find other mixed people sometimes, and I've yet to make close mixed friends, and I don't even know what that looks like, and that's so sad to me because it's like I want to know what that looks like and what that feels like. That's definitely hard. And also I just feel like what else is a kryptonite for biracial people is just like, yeah, definitely finding their own tribe that they can talk to and like understand, but also finding their place in society and finding what they can do and what they can't do and what they shouldn't. Like, for example, I just recently started wearing braiding hairstyles. Do you know how many people be like, when did you just start wearing braiding? Did you just now start? Oh, because of Black Lives Matter, you're wearing your hair in braids. It's like, I didn't wear braids for 25 years of my life because of my skin tone. I was so scared to look wacky as fuck. And I was like, I don't want to spend 12 hours in the braiding salon and then come out being insecure because I was too white, because I looked a little too white. And literally 25 years, I just looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, one day I'm going to do it. One day I'm going to do it. But I kept talking myself out because I was like, I don't want to look corny. I don't want to look stupid. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself because then I can do a couple. And if I look bad, I'll just back out of it. And I taught myself how to braid overnight, and I spent all night doing it. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, I don't look corny. I was like, this might be what I was missing my whole life. This is me. Yeah. I never felt more like myself. And it's things like that where it's like we have so little representation for mixed people. I'm not saying Black people, but mixed people, someone that looks like me. It was really hard finding someone with my skin tone, with my hair texture, to find certain looks for things and to reassure myself that what I was doing was going to look good. So it's hard, you know, with beauty standards sometimes to know what's going to look good, what's going to look stupid on you, what's going to be accepted, what's going to be, you know. So that's definitely something I still struggle with. But
I mean, how do you handle that being a YouTube influencer that like is an all-encompassing thing? Because I see that you do story times and things like that, but like you have been doing beauty things since the beginning. So, I mean, how do you handle that pressure as a mixed woman to do that?
I mean, the way that I look at it is it's like for my channel, I know there's so many girls that I found that probably don't even know that I watch them because they are mixed. Like I'll watch so many like Puerto Rican Black hairstylists on YouTube. I'll watch so many, I'll watch, my whole YouTube recommended is all Black people because I just feel like I've recently figured out I enjoy their content more. I feel more at home with it. I don't know what I was doing for so long. But now that I'm retraining my feed to be more like what I want it to be like, that's what's got me so inspired to jump out of my comfort zone with my hairstyles. And that's what got me growing my hair curly. My hair was so damaged because I was wearing, what was I wearing? The glue-in extensions because I was a dumbass and because I didn't have any Black friends. So I was wearing glue-in extensions and all my hair was falling out. And then I was like, you know what? I was like, what am I doing? And then one day I was like, let me go back to my roots on Black hair YouTube and see what all y'all are doing. And they're like, wear wigs. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna wear wigs. And that's what changed my whole life. That was like 3 years ago. And ever since then, like my whole feed has been getting retrained. And now I'm like on the wig hairstylist YouTube and like, I'm just learning so much more. And I'm just like, oh, I wish I had tangible friends to tell me that years ago. And that would have happened if we had more mixed people in media and more mixed people out there on social media to tell me I looked crazy. But yeah, anyway, my hair is growing super long now, and that's only because I found people on YouTube that looked like me. And that didn't happen overnight. You had to really train. You have to train your social media to be different. If you're whitewashed, you have to train. You have to pick a day and be like, it's time to train my social media on how to give me what I needed to. Because, yeah, I had to train my social media.
Well, I didn't even know training your social media was a thing. So that's a little bit for a YouTube influencer for you. Retrain your feed.
Just keep watching, and then sooner or later, your feed will be what it needs to be.
Beautiful. So I'm just going to take a step back from your YouTube-ness. You are now producing music, which is exciting. You mentioned that there are not a lot of female music producers in the game right now. So, I mean, what inspired you to do music, first of all?
I mean, I don't want to put like crap on female music producers. There's actually a ton, but on female dance music producers, like even in like just in dance music, if you search the top 10 dance music producers, it's all men. There's not a single woman in there, whether it's mixed or whatever. It's all men. And something just rubs me the wrong way about that. I mean, I don't know, something just doesn't sit right with me that you'll search the top 10 genderless profession and it's all men. Like, I don't know, something just doesn't sit right with me. And so that's from the very beginning. It's been a big goal of mine is to get onto that list, even though it's a crazy goal, but I've had crazier goals and reached them. So it's not impossible. And I just feel like there needs to be more women in music.
Do you find that there's a lot of like people of color in the dance music industry as well? Or are you paving the way for that?
In the dance music industry, there's not a ton, but there are some, and they're great at what they do. But the dance music industry is very like the white man's industry. What inspired me to get into dance music was, I've been into music ever since I was young. Like I've been making playlists for people before anything, just because I actually at one point wanted to be the person that would like score like movies and TV shows, because I loved finding music so much. I was like, my perfect job would be me like picking the perfect song for that moment in the movie when like the people are mad at each other, people kiss or whatever. Like I wanted that job of like hunting for music for stuff like that. And so yeah, I've always been a big music person, but I think what really got me into producing was seeing Skrillex live, because I had this idea in my head of like how a music producer would be, like a DJ. They just be up there like, yeah, like fricka. And when I saw Skrillex live for the first time, it was 2014 at Coachella, I believe. And he was playing the guitar, he was singing, he was playing the piano on stage. He was getting everybody to like jump, sit on the ground. And I had never seen that much command over such a large audience. I mean, even recently when I saw Billie Eilish at Coachella, like Skrillex had more command over his audience than Billie Eilish's performance. And I was like, damn, I was like, there's something to this, like having that much control over a crowd and getting them that hyped enough to sit down on the ground for you, like, you know. I was just so blown away, and like the lights and everything. And so that's kind of when I told myself I was gonna teach myself how to be a DJ and how to produce music. And ever since then I've been chipping away at it, but the last year I put the most time into it. I sat down, I was like, stop playing around, you're gonna really learn this. And so the last year of my life, I've been teaching myself everything from audio engineering to DJing to mixing and mastering. I'm like a nerd about it. Like I'll read books. If I'm in the car, I listen to music podcasts about engineering. Like I don't sleep just because I want this so bad. And I want there to be more representation for women in that industry, to have that command over a crowd and give people good music. So yeah.
I mean, damn girl, watch out for you. Oh, this is so exciting. You're like, eh. But with all of that influence, has there anything like culturally whether that be from your mom, whether that be from your dad, whether that like, you know, things that you take from your Puerto Rican side, your black side, your white side. Like I know growing up as a mixed woman, like I have a lot of eclectic music taste. Like I haven't really been put in like a music niche. Does that inspire you to make like a certain type of music? Like what type of flavors do you put into your music producing because of your background?
I mean, it's funny because my background, I grew up on like the most hardcore rap ever, and it's funny because it was like my dad listening to it. I remember being in the car driving down the streets of LA when I was a kid, like windows down, and my dad would be like, "Cause the shotgun bullets aren't bad for your health." Like, oh, and I'm like 4 years old. I'm like, yeah. My mom's like, yeah. Like we would listen to like just the craziest music, and it was my dad always putting it on. So I mean, that was kind of like what I grew up on. My dad's kind of a crazy influence. Like we would play GTA when I was like 2 years old. My mom would be so mad. Like I have weird, yeah, I don't know. My dad just loved that stuff. But aside from that, I grew up as a dancer, and I trained as a dancer until I was 19. And so I feel like being a dancer really is where a lot of my music influence comes in, because it's like you have to, you know, you don't know what you're going to show up to the studio and be dancing to that day, whether it's modern or salsa or some weird glitching that doesn't even make music or beat. Country. I mean, I don't think we dance to country, but you never knew what you're dancing to. And I was always hunting for music to dance to because I love to just choreograph in my room. And I was like, maybe I'll be a choreographer one day. And so, yeah, I've always been hunting for music since I was little. I do this thing on my Instagram now where, because I have so much music floating around my mind ever since I was like, as far as I can remember, I'll do these things where I'll just ask my followers what they want music for. And in the little Q&A thing for Instagram, they'll be like, a romantic night on the beach with my crush. And then I'll be like finding them the perfect song. And yeah, because I just have so much music knowledge, I like feel like it's being wasted. So yeah, I'll like once a week or once every 2 weeks, whenever I have time, I'll just sit down and like share weird music from like 2006 or something that, you know, people have forgotten about. It didn't have its moment in 2006, but maybe I can give it its moment, one more stream today. So yeah, I don't know. My music taste is literally crazy. I really do listen to everything. I even listen to country sometimes.
Really? There's one thing I did not pick up from Texas. I can't do it. My Japanese grandmother loves country music, and I'm like, mm-mm.
See, the funny thing is I'm from Orange County, and everyone in Orange County when I was in high school wanted to be country so bad. But it's like, you're literally from Orange County, like, you don't have a farm, you don't have, and like, everyone would buy trucks. Like, this was like what the white kids at my school did. They would buy trucks for their 16th birthday. They'd wear cowboy boots and flannels and cowboy hats to school. Like, they would. I'm sure if someone's watching this and they are from Orange County in that time, you know what I'm talking about. And they would blast country from the windows of their car, show up to school blasting country.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, like, so I listened to country because it was like cool to listen to country in high school.
See, it was the opposite for me. Everybody was into like the skater, rapper, Lil Wayne culture. So people would be blasting Lil Wayne, like watching like Ryan Sheckler or Rob Dyrdek and stuff like that, and like having like famous shirts and things. I mean, I don't put these up on the internet, but I fell into that a little bit, and it's awful. It's awful. But
yep, I fell into the scene crowd. I was a scene kid.
Yep, that moment in time too.
I used to crowd surf at Warped Tour. I still know the lyrics to full screamo songs. Like full like yeah. I know the lyrics. I can sing along.
It's amazing. You are braver than me. Anytime like there was like the mosh pit thing, I was like, ooh, like I look like you guys, but no. Don't put me around.
Yeah, I wasn't a mosh pit person. I fell in once and
surfing.
the guy rescued me out.
Oh, good, good. I remember
getting lost in one of those, and I was like, my life like flashed before my eyes. I don't even
dust.
know why, but yeah.
So lastly, this is my favorite segment to end on. And everything you've been saying is so beautiful and so inspiring. But the last segment that I want to end on is something I am learning at the moment, whether that be something you're learning about yourself, something you're learning in your relationship, something you're learning amongst your family, or just something that the world is showing you. You as Eva, what are you learning at the moment?
What am I learning at the moment? I'm learning at the moment every day even more that being Black is gold. It's gold. And I learn that from my mom every day, because I'm like, every day I'm just like, damn, you're so cool. You're so cool. And like, you're so funny and like full of life and so young, and like your skin is golden and your style is golden, and she's just amazing. And it's just like, Black really is gold, and that's why everyone wants a piece of it, and that's why everyone wants to tear it down. And and I'm just learning every day to respect it more and more, and fall in love with it. And I'm so happy to be even a percentage of that bit of gold. Yeah, but I'm just learning to love myself and all the sides that I didn't know anything about growing up. And I feel like I'm learning alongside my mom, because I feel like she's learning again. She's like relearning like how it feels to be herself. And I feel like I'm learning that with her. So it's like, people say, maybe, I mean, people don't say this, but I feel like maybe people will notice like, oh, Ava's becoming like more Black. And it's not for any other reason, like maliciously. It's like, I'm genuinely growing with my mom's growth. And so it's really cool. And I like the person I'm becoming, and I feel more like myself every single day. And I feel like I wouldn't change anything for the world. Like, I'm glad I grew up the way I did, with my crazy, confused scene hair that fried off and all sorts of crap. But yeah, I think it's the right time for me to become into myself. And yeah, I'm learning how to be myself. So,
well, I'm not even going to touch that. So on that note, I'm going to conclude this episode. I want to thank Eva so much for coming on the podcast. You had so many good things to share. Thank you guys for tuning in, and this is going to be our new way of showcasing the podcast. So make sure to watch, make sure to listen to the podcast here and on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Make sure to follow Eva on all of her social media platforms. Where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at MyLifeasEva, except Twitter is at LifeasEva. But I don't know, is anyone even on Twitter anymore?
I don't know. I'm a little bit.
Sometimes.
But and make sure to follow In the Mix podcast on Instagram, and follow Gabrielle on Instagram as well. And I will catch you guys on the next episode of In the Mix with Gabrielle Elyse.
Yay!